Okay, let's move right along here. Now, during the live trading, we used both market orders and limit orders. And I guess now would be a really good time to make a definition so that you guys are real clear in your minds what these two guys mean, okay? So, let me clean up the board here a little bit. And the screen has what up there? It says market orders. What is a market order? Okay, a market order is an order that is placed and will be filled at whatever the best available price is. In other words, you don't know what you're going to get. You look at the level 2 and it says 53 cents by 54 cents and you say, I'd like to buy that 54. But if you do it with market, again, by the time you push the button, remember, in 1 second, there may be 1,000 or 10,000 decisions being made by other traders. And you think you're real quick, but somebody's quicker. And so by the time your order actually hits the marketplace, 54s are no longer available. There's 55s, and you can get filled at 55. Well, that's called slippage. Slippage is the difference between what you expect to get and what you actually do get. All ready? Now, here's what our platform would look like if we look up here at the screen, okay? There are different routes, and we have yet to talk about all the routes, but if we have a market order, okay, we can see that on our platform, our order type will say market. Now, on different platforms, it just may say MKT, an abbreviation for market. This one spells it all the way out. And right below it, we have the Small Order Execution System, or SOES route. Okay, this goes to market makers, as you guys will find out. Now, some ECNs do allow market orders and some do not. Certainly ARCA and Ready and Brute, these guys will allow market orders. Okay, but Island only allows limit orders. You ready? Now, DART, it says sometimes, because it depends. If DART is selecting Island as its route, then it's sending it out as a limit order. And if you have market in there and it sends it out as to ARCA, ARCA has market orders. So that's why we say sometimes. Now, when would we use a market order? Okay. Well, again, there's two different thoughts on this. As beginning traders, for the first 6 months, I think you should never use a market order except in an emergency. Okay? Because I want you guys to be clear on where you're getting in and clear on where you're getting out. I want you to state it on paper, in your mind, and in your execution. So if I want to buy the thing for $19.19, that's what I want, okay? I don't want 1920 or 1922. I want 1919. There's a reason, okay? And that's going to be defined by your plan, okay? So here's what we say. For beginning traders, I want you to limit in and limit out, and if necessary, market out to escape a bad trade. In other words, it goes, you saw it this morning when we were trading Clack. I wanted to get out at 50.02, but there were no 50.02s. I just went to market and I hit the sell button and we got out at 50.01. Because just because I want something doesn't mean I get it. You haven't gotten everything you've wanted, have you? You know, it's like prayer. Just remember, even no is an answer. Alrighty, so everybody understand what a market order is? A market order is when you hit the button, you have market in your box up here, okay? And it's going to fill you at whatever is the best available at the moment of process. You think the moment of process is the moment you hit your finger. But again, there could be 10,000 other decisions ahead of you. Where are you in the line? You don't know. You don't know where you are electronically. Now, if the 54s in our example had a lot of share size, well, you can be far back in the line and still get the 54s. But if the 54s only have a few hundred shares and you're back in the line, you may only get 55s or 56s. Does that make sense? Good. All right, what's a limit order? Okay, a limit order is a specified price and a specified share size. And limit is that price or better. Now, if you look up here at the screen at the top, we can see that we have a limit order type in blue up here, but we have now the price box is hot, and we have to put a price in there. It says $16.96. Well, if I were to hit the buy button, okay, well, the thing would fill me at 96, but would I be willing to take a 95? Sure, it's cheaper price. Buy low, sell high, okay? So I'd be willing to take a 96 or a 95 or a 94. That's what they mean by limit or better. But if the only available price was 97, then I will not be filled because I cannot suffer slippage with a limit order.
Will DART route you to the best price as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. All the smart routing always work. The first hierarchical rule is best price first. And I'll show you some tricks that you can do with that. What if the stock is trading at the ask at $16.96, but you don't know if you can get that 96? There's so many people buying and it's happening so fast. Could you put in $17 in your box, use a smart route, and hit the buy button? Now the thing would hunt backwards for you. It would try to buy you 17s or better. So maybe you don't get the 96s, maybe you get the 97s, okay? So what we've effectively done by doing this, we've created, are you ready? A limited market order.
Yeah.
Okay? So I said, I'll pay up to 17, but I want a better price, and I'll let my smart route find it for me. Okay? So maybe I'll get the 96s, but I know I won't pay more than 17 because I've limited it to 17. So it effectively becomes a limited market order.
And you guarantee of getting filled that way.
Well, there's no guarantees. You can never use that word, but your probability is very, very high that you're going to get filled. Okay. So now we have different routes have limits. So we saw that SOS had a market capability. It can also have a limit capability. And of course, we'll get into SelectNet here a little bit later. That's a different route. SelectNet is always limit. It does not have market capability. Now, you guys won't be using SelectNet much. SelectNet is very, very expensive to use, and it's really it's got a lot of bad things in it. For instance, once you open a SelectNet order, you must keep the order open for 10 seconds. You cannot cancel for 10 seconds. Well, when are you going to get filled? The first second or the last second? The last second. The market maker is going to let you twist in the wind, okay? And you say, well, I want to buy $60.35 here. He says, do you now? Okay, well, the price is now $60.32. 9 seconds later, you're going to get filled for the 35. That's what you asked for. Okay, so this is not really a good route, but we do show it to you. And then we have our smart routing, and on this particular platform, it's called DART. And again, they may have other cute names like Smart or Trade Scout, or Cyber Trader calls it Cyber Exchange, but it's a smart route. And again, if we go in here and put in 21, it'll try to get us a limit of 21 or better. But it may go anywhere. It could go to an ECN, it could go to a market maker, it uses SOS, it uses ARCA and Island and Brute and all those other things. So we don't know where it's going, but we know that we're not going to pay more than 21.
And DART is the system that Rush is using.
Yeah, once again, it's a smart routing algorithm that hunts, in the case of Rush Trade, best price first, least cost to you, and fastest execution. Okay, they actually have a fourth one in there that's called quality of fill, but we're going to look at DART in depth here in a little bit.
But that's one of those things where if you go with Rush, they've made these other decisions for you. We don't have to worry about it.
Correct. And I want you guys starting out with the automatic transmission. But when we looked at the money sheet there, you can see that there are other routes that are cheaper. Okay, we looked at Island, ARCA, and First Boston, okay? And one was 30, one was 40 and one was 60. Well, if we leave it up to Dart, sometimes we're going to pay a little bit more money. What if we made the decision to only use Island, which was the cheapest? Well, then we'd be cheaper than using Dart all the time. But the reality of it is, Island may not be at the best price all the time. So again, if you want the reward, you're going to have to take the bigger risk. If you want the certainty of reward, you're going to have less opportunity. That's the risk, because you wouldn't get filled as often. Everybody with me?
I'd like to see that again when we get there.
Sure, sure. Alrighty. So what's the punchline down here? At the very bottom, it says, you will not get slipped, but you may not get filled. Because you said, I'm only going to go at this bottom one here at $54.21. Well, if the best price is $54.22, you're out of luck. You say, I've limited myself, I'm only paying 21s. I will not take 22s. Okay, let's talk a little bit about routes now. And just out of nostalgia, we put up here island executions. Why? Well, because I found a really cute picture with computers and on islands. Okay, and we do have an ECN called Island. But when I talk about this, we're going to be talking about the use of all ECNs. Okay, ECNs, if you remember from our previous discussion, is our direct access. If our broker-dealer has membership, we're automatically members of these guys, and this allows us to post bids to buy and offers to sell, and gives us very, very lightning fast executions. Okay, now you guys are going to be using smart routing mostly. Okay, but how do you do it? Well, first off, like I say, whether I'm talking about ARCA or Inca or Island, I can't say them all each time, so we'll just talk about Island. We have ECNs. Your broker may have several direct subscriptions to them. What do we need? We need the top 2 or 3 of the biggest, and that's going to be ARCA, Inca, and Island, and possibly Brute. Okay, those are the 4 biggest of the 8 out there. Alrighty? They allow us to set the bid price or offer at the ask. Okay, so we have the same ability to buy and sell just like a market maker does. That doesn't mean we should always do that. Sometimes it's not always the smartest thing to try to get the cheapest price. As I said to you the other day, there's 2 things that you have to consider as a businessman: cost versus speed. Alrighty? There are some times when the situation says, let's be patient and we'll get the cheapest price we can. Other times we have to say, I'm going to pay a little bit more because this thing's moving fast and I don't want to miss the opportunity. So sometimes we can sit on the bid to buy a product. There's other times when we just want to buy the ask to get into it because we see it's going up. Okay? So there's times when you want to be frugal. There's times when you want to be a little bit more aggressive. Knowing which is going to be dependent on your stock and your experience level. Okay? So in the case of Island, remember, Island specifically has limit orders. Most of the rest also offer you market. If we specify a price and a share, we are limit, no matter who we use. So if we say this and no more, then that's what it is. Again, guys, if you're on the bid or on the ask, you are just placing a want ad in the trading newspaper. Okay? Remember, the people at the bid are hopeful buyers. They are not buying. They have to wait patiently for somebody to fill them. The people who are offering to sell on the ask are hopeful sellers. That does not mean they're going to be filled. Alrighty? So now if we go back to Jim's question, how often do you not get filled? Well, if I'm buying and I'm selling, I get filled almost all the time. But if I'm bidding or offering, okay, my percentages of fills go way down. Because a lot of times they just don't want to sell to me. If the price is going up, why would they want to sell to the wholesaler? If the price is going down, why would they want to buy from a retailer? Okay, so you have to understand where you are. Okay, now the fastest of all transactions is what we call an ECN cross. And I don't know, people just have a hard time with this. So I'll put it on the board up here. Here's our famous level 2. We got the bid, we got the ask, okay? And we look over here and we see our club member island is offering to sell $10, okay? Well, we could join the bid, and we come in here and we put in our island code, and perhaps we bid to buy $9.99. Everybody with me so far? And we look at the prints over here, and all we see are 10s going through on the prints. Well, nobody's selling to the 9.99s. Alrighty? And you go, well, gosh golly, guys, I want to buy this for $9.99, but it doesn't look like I'm going to get filled. So we hit the cancel button, and we close our bid to buy, and we then say we cross the center line, and we take. Now we are buyers. We're not bidders anymore. We're now buying. We take the $10. People, that is the fastest of all executions. My island to their island, matched price, instant fill.
Market.
It's not market. Specified $10 maybe. On island, I have to specify. It only accepts limits. But if it was ARCA, I could do it at market.
But in a sense, that's what it is, right?
Yeah, I'm just buying full retail. But that's what they mean by an island or an ECN cross. You cross the center line. You're no longer a bidder, you become an active trader. Okay, you're no longer passive, you become active. And if I go to as we're going to find out here when we get into sows, if I go to a market maker and I sows him, I have to stand in line and wait. And that line may be really long. And so it takes a while for a sows fill to go through. On the other hand, an island to island, you got it or you don't got it. You know right now. Okay, or an ECN cross. You know you've got it.
How do you get with that column there?
You hit the buy button with the $10 in the price box.
Does the order execution box intelligently click on route and say ISLD, did it automatically go from, say, market to limit?
Yes and no, depending on which one you're asking me, okay? Before we go any further, let's step out to the platform for a moment and let's show you these different routes and what they do, okay? Now, we've been talking about the different types of orders, market, limit, and some of the routing. Okay, so let's just demonstrate a couple things here. Now, I've already showed you how to post an order, how to bid to buy and offer to sell. We'll do some of that in a couple quick transactions. But I really want you to concentrate on a few things. First off, if we go down here to the center of the screen, where we have our execution panel for the direct access platform, we see the first thing, it says order type. And right now I have mine defaulted to market, okay? If I open that up, here's the other common order or limit order, okay? So we can go market, which will give us whatever price is available at the moment of process, and a limit order, of course, which is a specified price or better, okay? Now the rest of these down here, stop market, stop limit, trailing stops, make best, and best bid and ask, these are conditional orders. And as we start to trade a little later today, I'm going to work with you guys on how to use these conditional orders. But let's stick with the basics right now. So there's our order types. Now kitty corner on a slant down, you see the order route. And it's defaulted to our smart order routing. This one's called DART, okay? But we could also select our ARCA route, our island, Inca. We could go into the super montage through SOs, Brute, Track, Night Trimark, Night Securities. We also have B-Trade down here. We have Crown for over-the-counter. And we even have the ability on this particular platform to trade mutual funds. No thank you. Okay, now let's look at a couple of interesting things here. For instance, if I select island, now that island's in my route, if I go up here to order type, I only have limit. Island will only accept limit orders, okay, just as we noted in the slides. But if I go down here to ARCA, ARCA will take limit or market. Now remember, ARCA is not just an ECN, but it's also an exchange. Okay? If we look at another one of our ECNs, like Inca, because they have global access and are part of the super montage, they have market and limit available to them as well. And of course, if I go down here to somebody like Brute, okay, they have market. So pretty much Island has become the only one that doesn't have it. The other ones all have it available to us. How about B-Trade? Let's just check it. Okay, yeah, B-Trade has both market and limit. So now, how do I put a limit order? Well, first off, if I go to market, notice that the price box right next to order type here is grayed out. There's nothing there, okay? That's because we're at market. Whatever the inside ask or the inside bid is, that's what we'll get whether we buy or sell respectively, okay? If I want to put a price in here, I can highlight the box or change it to limit first and then hand type it in there. I could go 22, 26. Oops. I forgot I have a hotkey on that one. I could highlight it and type it in there as 22, 26. Okay. Or I could click on a price up in here. And when I say price, people, I mean price. So I put my cursor right on the number, and if I click on this, bingo, now I have 1846 in there. If I happen to move off of the number and click on one of these got names over here, it'll not only put the price in, but it may change my route. Let's go down here to like the 47s, and I'll click on Lehman Brothers here. Yeah, it put in 47, but you notice our route changed to SOs. So we got to be careful about what we're doing, okay? So let's go back here to Dart again. So if I want you to click on a number, I mean it. So click on, let's go over here to the left on the bid, and we'll click 1845, and sure enough, that's what puts our, in our price box. Now that's if we were on limit. If we're on market, again, the price box grays out. But if I click on a number without changing the limit, it automatically defaults because I've chosen a number, okay? Now I double click, so I change the route again. You got to be careful about double clicking, people. Alrighty, let's see what else can we show you right in here. We talked a little bit about time in force. With time in force, we have good for the day. Now you see it just says day. That's regular hours. That's 9:30 East Coast to 4 p.m. If I wish to trade in the extended hours today, I must select day plus. So after 4 o'clock this afternoon, if I want to trade the extended afternoon hours, I have to go to day plus. The same is true here. Good till canceled is good till canceled for regular hours. But what happens if I have an earnings report after the market closes and I want to get out? Well, I better have chosen good till cancel plus the extended. And then the last one is immediate or cancel, and that means you want to fill right now or cancel your order. You probably won't use that much, guys, because pretty much we are willing to accept partial fills. I want to buy 1,000 shares, I get filled 400 from ARCA, I get filled 200 from Island, I get filled 300 from Brute. It doesn't matter to me, it's all one order. But if I said immediate or canceled and it went to Island, well, they would cancel my order. And then it would go to ARCA, and if they didn't have enough, it would cancel and I wouldn't get my fill. So pretty much for short-term trading, we're going to be working regular hours, so we're going to have our time in force, or TIF, set for good for the day. Now let's just do a couple of quick things. I want to show you a few things here. Again, I'm going to find a slower stock. We were looking at Novell earlier. Let's go back to Novell. Here we have a stock, and you can see it's not moving so fast on the time and sales here. And if we look up here, we can see that it is shortable. And you see Island up here at 686. So if I'm at market, I can't sell short because I'm on a downtick. You ready? But if I wish to offer short, I can click on the 686 and hit the sell short button, and now I'm offering. If you look way down here at the very bottom, you can see I have a pending offer. Now, I did this through Dart, so Dart automatically puts me on ARCA, so I'm part of the 600. Now that's me by myself there, at 100 shares. I'm going to cancel it. Watch the 100 go away. Bingo, I'm gone. Okay, my pending order down here is gone, and the PSE 100 is gone. Okay, again, if I hit the sell short at the 86s, bingo, you'll see me show back up. There I am. Now 500 people have joined me. I'm going to cancel mine, and it'll go to 500. And then it drops back down. They saw me starting to short. They thought maybe it's a good time. Boy, I'm glad I got out of that. It looks like it's going up. Yep. Okay, so that's how you would post. Now the other thing nice about Dart is that if I wanted to go in here and let's say it was 85 by 86 and I had an 86 in there. Well, if I hit the buy button, the thing would attempt to buy the 86s for me, but if it doesn't, it will then automatically put me as a bid to buy at my price if it's current. So you see the 86 up here. If I cancel, it should go to 8,500. Bingo, that was me in there. So Dart automatically tries to buy me 86s or better. But if it can't, it will then post me at 86. Okay? In other words, I may not get filled, but it'll give me a good try to get filled. Everybody with me so far? Very good. Now, there are some other neat things about having smart routing. What if I went way above, not way above, let's go up here to the 690s, and I'll click on that. You see I have a limit buy of 690 in here. Now let's scroll back. Now, the first thing a smart route should do is find me the best price. So if I hit a buy right now, even though I have 690 in here, it should get me the 687s. Let's find out. So I'm going to hit the buy button. You'll see my pending and I'm filled. What did I get filled at? 687, even though I had 690. So this kind of gives us a very unique situation. It's kind of like having a hybrid order, a limited market order. In other words, I accept up to 90, but I'd really rather get, something less. And by putting my dead limits in there at 690, it hunted back and got it for me 3 cents cheaper. Okay, now again, if I want to sell the 688s in here, or let's do it the other way. Let's go way into the money. Okay, so if I go down here and I put in 684, let's scroll back up. I'd like it to sell it for at least 684, but of course the platform should get me the best buy. So let's hit the sell, and you see pending, and I'm filled already. Well, what do we get? Let's blow up the activity box. Make it big. And you can see that even though I was trying to sell it for 684, I would accept it that, it did get me the 687. So smart routing is pretty smart, and it's probably what we want you guys to stick with. Now, yeah, everybody always asks me that question. Well, if smart routing is so good, why do you have the other routes? Well, as you become a little bit more skilled, a little bit more gifted, you're going to find that you can do certain tricks. Let me give you an analogy. Having these different routes is like having a car with a stick shift. There's certain things that you can do with a stick shift if you can shift quickly and accurately through the gears that you can't do with an automatic. For instance, if I'm coming up on traffic and I want to slow down, can I downshift a stick shift? Yeah, and then the compression of the engine slows me down. Or if I'm stuck in a mud hole, I can go from reverse to first and rock the car out. You can't do that on an automatic because you have to go through park, okay? And of course the big one, have you ever tried to push start an automatic? You gotta have a real good set of legs to push start an automatic. Alrighty, now again, a little later in the day, we're gonna actually do some of these trades, so I just wanted to make you a little bit familiar with what we're talking about in the slides. Any questions right now on order type or routing? You guys are going to be using limits and darts. Okay, that's a good question. That's a good question. What should you use? Well, guys, as beginners, I want you to limit in and limit out under control. Okay? If you have to escape from a bad situation, go to market. There is no doubt that market will get you filled. You just don't know what price. But if you really went out and look at the S&Ps down here dropping, See how fast those are dropping? If you were long right now in a fast stock, this stock may be coming down very, very quickly. To get out quickly, I would use market, okay? But for beginners, I want you to try to limit in and limit out. Do you see how fast this dropped from 50? It's already down to 47, okay? If we were trying to plug in a 50 and then a 49, well, market would have just gotten us out of 47 and we'd be done with this thing, even though the S&Ps are tanking right now. Everybody with me on that? Very good. Okay, let's go back to the slides. So again, you can see that when I posted an order to sell on ARCA there, I was a passive trader, and therefore I had to wait until somebody came and bought it from me. All righty? When I crossed and hit ARCA, boom, I was filled. You didn't even see a pending order. Yet on the other hand, as Al pointed out, even so's was incredibly fast. It went pen filled, but the ARCA didn't even go pen filled. It went filled. Okay? So obviously, if you're really a high-speed scalper, these routes become even more important to you, don't you, for speed? Yeah. Again, that's not what you guys are. You're beginning traders. I want you to use the smart routing, but you're not going to be here in a year. Okay? You're going to be trading and hopefully successfully doing it, and you're going to have to remember some of these things we've talked about. Moving right along. Okay, now I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. We just did this live, okay? So here we see Island at the inside bid, okay? And remember, it's being displayed as CIN right now at 1286, and we also see it at 87. Well, some of these people, they don't have to be on both sides. It just, some members of the club think it's time to buy, some members of the club think it's time to sell. It's just a difference of opinion. You know, I like the color blue, you like the color green. Okay, it's just a matter of taste. But what do these things do? They allow us to be just like the market makers. We can buy right along with Cowan and UBS Warburg and Nochi and Knight Trimark and all these other big traders. We get the same price they do now. You ready? Now, this has changed, so this is almost a non-essential slide now. Up until just recently, we were able to go out to 3 or even 4 digits. I look up here and I see Island at 1283, and there's 2,600 shares. Well, that means I'm at the back end on Island. If there's 2,600 shares ahead of me that have to be filled before I get filled at 83. But what if I were to add a little bit to it? Well, then I become the best of the best, and I can jump in front of this 2,600. People, this will not be available to you in a month. They're already testing most of the stocks to have a minimum spread of 1 penny. So this is probably not going to be available to you by the time you set up and start trading. So you'll be stuck with at least 1 penny differentials. Okay, and again, this one, again, you maybe want to go in between the spreads so that you can get ahead of your ECN brothers, okay? But take a look. Sometimes you don't have to add a half a cent. Here's a 2-cent spread. It's 87 by 85, so an 86 will put you as the national best bid. You ready? And then you by yourself are there, and if anybody wants to sell, they're going to sell to you. Okay, because you're the best price in the market.
Mike, are they say buying and selling with their own club, or is it they're dealing with all the ECNs, if you would, like for example, Island, if you gotta?
Well, if we're up here on the board, okay, anybody can see us, but the only people who can get to us are other club members. But by and large, everybody belongs to the ECNs. The market makers belong to all the ECNs. So if a market maker wanted to sell, or the public wanted to sell, it could come to us even though we were specifically on Island. Alrighty. Now, if we're not displaying, we don't show it up there, well, then only our island brothers can see us. Okay, and I haven't even talked to you about ECN books yet. Okay, there's a lot more to learn, people. Okay. Okay, let's move into the next topic here, short positions. And Al's going to love this, okay? We're going to make sure you guys clearly and fully understand shorts. Now, we're going to have several lectures on shorting. Today, we're going to go into the rules of shorting, okay? So you understand what you can and cannot do. So first off, what is a short? Well, a short is a position that is established when we have the expectation of a downward movement in our stock price. We know the old general rule, buy low, sell high. But we can reverse the order of execution. What if we were to sell high and buy low? Does that still fit the general rule? Sure. So the problem is that where people have a difficulty is understanding that how can I sell first if I don't own it? Well, you can't sell nothing. As I made the joke the other day, if you sell nothing, that's called fraud, okay? You have to sell something, okay? You can't tell people that you've got, scrimmage line and sell that. You got to sell something, all righty? So where do we get something? Well, we're going to borrow it from our broker. Our broker wants you guys to short. He wants you to do anything. Why? Because every time you do a transaction, he makes a commission. And in the case of shorting, because we're going to borrow the stock, we are essentially borrowing money, right? Isn't the stock worth something? So we're essentially borrowing money. And if we borrow money, we're going to pay interest on it. And that's going to make the broker-dealer happy. And then the third reason, of course, is that the broker-dealer wants to have good customer relations. If you want to go short and he doesn't offer you shorts, you'll go somewhere else. So he wants to keep you happy, so he's going to help you get short if that's what you want to do. So those are the three reasons that a broker-dealer wants to do it, okay? Yeah?
When you borrow the stock from your broker, is he then dropping your account balance down to cover it just in case?
Yes, essentially.
So you're not
Essentially, you're
really
using buying power. Well, okay.
He's making interest on you and on your money.
No, he's only making interest on the money that you borrow.
Yeah, the money you borrow. But you're not really borrowing it if he's taking it out of your account too.
Maybe I misled you. Let's talk about this slowly, okay? Now, the thing that confuses people is we talk in terms of buying power. So that sounds like that's only if we buy. But let's say we have transaction power, okay? And we have $10,000 cash in our account, okay? And they give us a 2-to-1 margin. So how much transaction power do we have? $20,000.
Is that what they give?
Well, they give you either 2-to-1 or 4-to-1, okay? Now, you can also have a cash account where you have 1-to-1, okay? But if you can't borrow in a cash account, okay? So you can't short in a cash account. So we're going to make the assumption we have a margin account.
Oh, you can't.
Well, you can't borrow in a cash account. Where would you go to borrow? You go outside to a bank?
I thought you were taking it from your main.
Well, okay. People, cash accounts you cannot borrow, and you must borrow in order to be able to short. Okay? So, period. So you cannot short in a cash account. Okay, everybody got that rule? Okay. You can borrow in a margin account. That's what margin means. You're going to borrow some, and they're going to hold securities or cash as a collateral in margin of their protection.
Does it cost you more to be in a margin account?
Give me a second, guys. I can only say this one at a time, okay? So, to open the account, no, Al, it doesn't cost you more. But when you use it, it costs you more because you have to pay interest on what you use.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Okay? So we have $20,000 worth of transaction power. If I buy $10,000 worth of stock, okay, I have reduced my transaction by 10,000. So now I only have 10,000 transaction power left. Okay? Now, in most of the good direct access brokerages, the moment I sell this, the very next day, my transaction power goes back up to 20. Now, some brokerages make you wait 3 days. Okay? But the trading brokerages, and particularly the direct access trading brokerages, you would be back up to 20,000 tomorrow morning. You'd have full transaction power again. Now, this is if we buy, and everybody seems to understand this, okay? But what if we sell short? Well, it's the same thing, because we are effectively putting $10,000 at risk. So if we sell short 10,000, what has our transaction dropped to? Our transaction power to 10,000, because they're going to pull 10,000 out in case your short goes bad. Okay? Now, here's the interesting thing about margin, and I'm getting a little off topic here, but I have $10,000 cash. I have 20,000 transaction power. What if I only buy $5,000 worth of stock? Am I borrowing any money?
No.
Absolutely you are. If you spend $1 in a margin account, you're borrowing 50% of it. But Mike, I have enough cash to cover that. Yeah, but it's in their best interest to lend you the money. Okay? So if I buy 5,000, I'm using 2,500 of my cash and 2,500 out of this. Okay? So we're going to be reduced in transaction power. What am I going to pay interest on? 2,500. When do you pay interest? When you carry it home overnight. So there is an intraday interest. If I buy Cisco at 8 o'clock in the morning and I sell it at 8:30 California time, there's no interest.
You use the money for free?
Use the money for free. Okay? If I buy Cisco on Monday and I sell it on Tuesday, then I'm going to be liable for 1 day's worth of interest. And how do we calculate 1 day's worth of interest? Well, typically, and of course this varies from brokerage to brokerage, but typically they charge you 2 points above prime. Okay? I believe that most of the brokerages are right now charging about 4.75% APR, average or annual percentage rate. So then what is 4.7 times $5,000 divided by 365 days? Not much. Okay? So that's how they calculate it. So obviously if you hold it for a full year, it's going to cost you 4.75. And if it was 10,000, that would cost you $475, huh? But if it's divided by 365, well then it's only $1.25 a day on 10,000.
Why divided by 5,000 instead of 2,500?
Well, that's because, trust me, you can argue this with your broker-dealer all day long, okay? But they're going to charge you on it, and that's how they do things. I mean, when you buy a car for $30,000, okay, you owe interest on $30,000. But the car is worth $29,000, isn't it, at least? Or $25,000? Why don't they only charge you interest on the rest? Because it's in their best interest to put you over the barrel. Who makes the rules? They do. Okay? Now you can go in there and you can say, well, gosh, guys, I'm only borrowing 50% of it and I want my rates reduced, and they'll say yes or no. What do you think the answer is going to be? No. Okay? If you don't like it, go somewhere else. You know? And they all do the same thing. So, you know, you'll be paying Julio on the full 5,000. I know it doesn't seem fair, but that's how they're going to do
You
it.
have a cash account to buy long, a
marginal account to buy short?
Sell short.
Sell short.
I'm going to force you to say it right.
Two different.
No, you don't have to. I mean, you could. You have to have a margin account to sell short.
That's right.
But you could also buy long in a margin account
Yeah, but you gotta pay interest, right? If you keep it overnight.
if you keep it overnight, yeah. And if you sell short, you have to pay interest. But you also have horsepower.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, I mean, you know, if you have $10,000, how many shares of Cisco can you buy? It's $20 a share, $22 a share. So 1,000 shares will cost you $22,000. You can only buy 400 or 500. Right. So if I have margin, I can buy twice as much or 4 times as much. Okay? And how do we make money? 100 shares at a time or a couple hundred shares at a time? So the magnification factor. Sure. Okay? Everybody kind of with me on margin? Again, on the last day of the class, we're going to spend the whole day on the business of trading, talking about legal entities, taxation, the use of margin, and all that. Okay? Okay? Okay, so to open a short, a trader will sell borrowed shares of stocks. And again, who are you going to borrow them from? Your brokerage. Your brokerage has either inventory or he knows that Herb over here has 100,000 shares of Microsoft and Herb is on a world cruise. And Carl wishes to sell Microsoft short. So Carl says, I'd like to sell 5,000. The broker-dealer looks around and he slips 5,000 out of Herb's and he gives it to him. Okay? Now Herb breaks his leg on his sailboat and they fly him home. And he comes in and he says, I need a new cast. I'm going to sell some of my Microsoft. Oh my God, the broker looks around and before Herb can look in his account, he goes over to Ralph's account and he slips out 5,000 out of Ralph's and puts it into Herb's. Okay? And Herb goes, oh, it's all there, no problem. Okay? Now, if Ralph and Herb want their Microsoft, then the broker-dealer says, Carl, I'm sorry, we have to give it back now. And that's a risk because he may not be in a good position and will have to return it. Okay? So what are we going to do here? We have to have the intention of returning the stock because we borrowed it. It belongs to somebody else. Okay? If we don't return it, that's called grand theft. Ready? So we hopefully are going to buy it back at a lower price. Now, this is fairly easy, people. If we sell a share of stock that we borrowed, what do we get? We get money, don't we? We receive money. So let's say we sold this share for $10. So we put a $10 bill in our pocket. But we owe the share to somebody. We sold it to a stranger. Now, later, we want to give that share back. So now we have to go out and buy it at the market. We have to go to the market and buy a share. Okay? So we sold this one, we sell the share, and we receive money. I don't want to put a minus in there. We receive money, huh? Now we go out and we have to buy it back so we can return it. And if we buy it back, we're going to what? Spend money. Now, how much are we going to spend? Well, we certainly don't want to spend more than we received. We want to buy low and sell high. Well, we sold high, so what if we could buy it back for $5? Now we can return the share. We just got the share back, so we can return the share to the rightful owner, the brokerage. What do we have left over? $5. That's selling short, Al. Now, it's a lot more complex because we have to borrow the shares and we have to return the shares. Now, here's the bad news, okay? We sold it for $10, and the owner comes back to Carl and says, I want my share of Microsoft back, and I want it now. And Carl looks out there, and the market is at 15. Well, the owner has a legitimate right to ask for his share back, okay? But he's going to have to spend $15 to buy it. Now what does Carl get for his trouble? Minus $5. He had to pay more than he sold it for. Okay? Very rarely. I mean, very rarely do you have to pay more because they call it away. Generally what happens is that you're wrong about it going down and it goes up, and you just take a small loss. Now let's talk about the risk in here in shorting. I already mentioned this a little bit, but let's go over it again. People, if I buy a stock for $5 and it goes to zero, it goes bankrupt, the most I can lose is how much? $5. Okay? If I take that same stock and I short it at 5 and it goes up to 10, how much have I lost? $5. But if it goes to 15, I've lost 10. If it goes to 25, I've lost 20. If it goes to 100, I've lost 95. So a lot of people will try to scare you about shorting. They'll say, well, shorting has unlimited risk. Well, yeah, if you're drooling on your keyboard, you know, if you're asleep at the switch, come on. If I buy a stock for $5 and it drops down to $4.75, it's not going up. I'm going to sell it out, I'm going to take a 25-cent loss, and I'm going to put my $4.75 back in my pocket. I lost 25 cents, but I'm not going to let it go anymore. I'm not going to lose $5. I'm not going to watch it go all the way to zero. What am I, crazy? And if that's true, if I short it at $5 and it goes up, I want it to go down, but it goes up, and it goes up to $5.25, I'm going to buy it back, and I'm going to put my money, I'm going to pay out $5.25 for it, okay? And it's going to cost me 25 cents a share.
Right.
I'm not going to let it go to 10.
Right.
That's crazy. And I'm certainly not going to let it go to 100. But there are people who do. People who sit there and just go, you know, yeah, I hope that comes back. Okay, you know. Yeah, I just shorted Amgen and they just cured cancer, you know. And it comes in a blue pill for 10 cents tomorrow, you know. This thing ain't coming back. Okay. I mean, you think about what they did with Viagra. Okay, anybody who shorted, who was it, Pfizer, when they came out with Viagra, they went the wrong direction. There's a lot of bad jokes in there somewhere. Yeah. Okay, so does everybody understand the concept of shorting? We want to sell it for a high price. We want to buy it back for a low price. Because we don't already own the product, we have to borrow it from somebody. The broker-dealer is generally going to lend it to you. But there are other rules and regulations we have to consider. Okay, here's some examples of getting short and why we do it. Because things don't always go up. There's some good areas where we can get short and we see the things starting to go down. Here's our trend line. It broke our trend line. This was support. It's now resistance. We would get short in here and we hold short, and after a while we draw another trend line, and if it breaks above our trend line and get it closed, it's a green candle, we would buy cover. And by the way, that's the term for it. When you buy long, you sell long. But when you sell short, you buy cover. Or we could put it a little bit more clearly. You buy to open and you sell to close. Okay? In a short, you sell to open and you buy to close. Does that make better sense? Good. Sell to open. Selling to open the transaction. Okay, I've already stated this. You may only sell short in a margin account. Now, people, 401ks and IRAs and SEPs and other retirement vehicles are not margin accounts. They're cash accounts. Therefore, you may not short in them. Okay? Some some stocks, not just NASDAQ, some stocks may not be shorted due to a variety of reasons. The first one is limited liquidity or the float. Okay? What is the float? Well, our fictitious stock, Academy, has issued 100 shares of common stock, okay? So they issued 100. The CEO really thinks it's a cool stock, so he takes 25 of it, okay? And his CFO thinks it's a really cool stock, and he takes 25 of it. So now what is the float? 50 for the people who wish to trade it. But what happens is maybe an institution like Janus Fund or Oppenheimer or somebody comes along and they say, that's a pretty cool stock. And we're going to buy some of it, and we're going to hold it for 3 months. And they take 25 out to this mutual fund. So now the float has shrunk down to 25, okay? And today, they have traded 23 shares. Somebody bought them long and are trading them. What's the float now? 2. Okay, I want to short 5 shares. Can I do that? No, because I can't borrow it. It's just not available. Okay, I could short 2, but the float is so small, I'm going to have a hard time finding those 2, aren't I? So does everybody understand the float? Now, what happens 3 months from now when the mutual fund says, well, we don't like the stock anymore, and they sell it? Well, then 25 comes back into the float, plus the 2 makes it 27. Now it's easier to short this thing, isn't it? So when it says may not be shorted, may is the operative word here, because sometimes the float may be too small or too big. Okay, or it can't be too big, excuse me. Too small, or it might be big enough. People, don't worry. The big family names, household names, the Ciscos, Intels, Oracles, AMATs, Amgens, all those guys, you can short them anytime. They got plenty of float. Alrighty? But some of the smaller stocks may not. The next problem is your inventory problems at your brokerage house. What if your brokerage doesn't have any inventory and Herb isn't on a cruise? Okay? So they can't sneak it out of his account. So now they just don't have it. So then you have to either ask them to go out and borrow it from yet another brokerage, but that takes time. Okay? And we saw on the platform when we looked at it, the shortable box up there said yes, no, or call to see if it's available. And when it says call up there, that simply means they're not sure if they can put their hands on as much as you want. You say, I want to short 1,000. They say, I'm sorry, we only have 500, Cy. So if you want to short 1,000, can you wait and we'll try to borrow another 500? No, 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 it's happening right now. Give me the 500. Okay, fine, you got it. Short 500. Okay, now the next guy who calls, sorry, we don't have any because Cy has borrowed it. All right, that's why you have to call. So everybody understand that one? Next line, you may not short an initial public offering, an IPO stock, for the first 30 days. Well, this is because the SEC and the government want to protect baby companies. So I think we had a IPO here, was it Mama? Is that a new stock? I saw everybody talking about it. I don't follow IPOs that close. But the point is in the first 30 days, you're not allowed to short it. And what happens if you short it accidentally? Well, they can fine you up to around $1,500, make you eat the commissions. They take your profits and you get to keep your losses. This is not a win-win situation, people. On the other hand, if you're trading a stock, wouldn't you know if it's an IPO or not? I mean, are you just throwing darts at names, okay, or do you do a little research, okay? So if you look it up and you say, oh, this is a fairly new stock, the first thing you want to do is how many days? 31 days you can short it, okay? But if it's only 28, you got to wait 3 days to sell it short. Okay, it's not, oh, it does say that down here. Why some may not be shorted? The bottom line down here. Stocks at less than $5 are not shortable because they're not marginable. You can't borrow money against them. Now, this is SEC rules here, guys. brokerages can raise that. As an example, I have an account at Merrill Lynch. Okay, you cannot margin stocks that are less than $10. Okay, so they can raise the level, but they can't go below 5. Alrighty? So you may go, I mean, if you go to some really fancy, smancy, super risk conservative brokerage, they could literally say, well, guys, we're only going to let you buy stocks on margin that are over $50 and have been in existence for 100 years. And you go, well, that's not good. Fine, go somewhere else. These are our rules. Okay? So they have the right to protect themselves more, but they have to honor $5. You can go nowhere and short a $2 stock. Okay? Again, most of the large cap stocks are shortable. And it says NASDAQ, but Citicorp and IBM and Ford and GM and Cisco and Microsoft and Intel, they're all large caps. You can short them pretty much as long as you want. Again, it's up to your brokerage. For instance, one of the students in the last class told me that E-Trade only allows them to short for 3 days. Okay? Well, I never heard of that, but it turns out that it's an eBay rule. I mean, excuse me, an E-Trade rule, alrighty? So again, your broker can say, well, you can only short for the next 15 minutes or the next 15 days or the next 1,500 hours. Whatever they say is their rule. If you don't like the rule, move. Okay?
Normally a short can go forever if you want it to.
If it has enough float, yeah, sure. You can short Cisco for a year or 2 years if you like. Okay? Some people in hedge funds have done exactly that. They shorted Cisco at $94. They're still happy campers. Okay? And Cisco's low since then, I think, was $8.17, but it really went down. Yeah, that was what, almost a 95% reduction.
So you could, when you short something, you could wait, it could go above that before you go back to another.
Sure. Well, just like buying it. It can go anywhere it wants to. Your trick is to limit your risk. Okay?
That's not a good idea though, like you said.
What?
We're dealing on shorter terms, we're dealing usually, right?
Usually you're dealing within a couple of weeks or less.
Yeah, right.
So, well, you know, if in 2000, okay,
Might as well buy it then if you're gonna wait. You know what I mean?
in a down market, you sell it short and make money. There was nothing to buy in 2000. Everything was going down. So either you sat on your hands and did nothing, or you bought losers, okay, or you learned to sell short and make money. Guys, let me explain something to you about why we stress shorting in here. First off, you do have the opportunity. Not every market in the world allows you to short, okay? Second, would everybody say that from 1991 up to 2000, it was pretty much a bull market? I mean, I know there were some drawdowns, but pretty much it went up, okay? Guys, 67% of my profits from 91 to 2000 were on the short side in the world's best and biggest bull run ever. Why? Things go down twice or 3 times as fast as they go up. In the same time period, in the same 3 days, I may make a buck on one stock, but I can make $3 shorting another. Okay, which one am I going to do? I go for the efficiency, okay? Now, since 2000, how much of my profits are on the short side? I don't even know, guys, but it's got to be somewhere around 90% or higher, okay? I mean, there's lots of things out there to sell, okay? There's very few things that are worth buying. You ready? So here's the uptick, downtick rule, okay? Now, people, this is in place right now, but there are discussions, and hopefully, we're going to get rid of this thing shortly. What is shortly? Well, we were supposed to go to decimalization in mid-August of 1998. They got decimalization put in March of 2001. They started talking about getting rid of this about a year ago, and it's still on the books, and everybody's talking about getting rid of it. But I can't tell you that it'll be next week. It may be by the end of this year, but could Could the government drag their feet and make it another year beyond that? Yeah. Okay. But we're trying to get rid of it because this doesn't make any sense anymore. The rule reads, a trader cannot short sell a stock at or below the inside bid if the stock is on a downtick. Okay, what is a downtick? It's defined two ways. On NASDAQ, a downtick is defined as a condition when the current inside bid is lower than the previous bid by 1 penny or more. Okay? So on NASDAQ, and of course I'm going to show you a picture, but I'm going to draw you one first. The current bid is $10, and the arrow is pointing up. Remember the green arrow I said we'd get to? Well, we've gotten to it, okay? Now, if this guy either cancels his order or he gets filled and the price goes down by 1 penny and the new bid is now $9.99, this arrow turns down. And at that point, I cannot sell to the 999s. I can't sell short. I can sell long. If I own the product, I can always sell it, but I cannot sell short. Now, you notice that we had a buy button and a sell button and a sell short button. We have to declare to the market that we are shorting the market. Okay, so when we hit the sell short button, a market maker and other participants will actually see a little light glow and say, ah, Carl's selling the 5,000 shares of Microsoft short. We know he believes that it's going down. It's not that he's just taking profit. He believes the market's going down. Okay?
Does that apply when we buy and cover as well?
Nope. When you buy cover, a buy is a buy. They don't care who buys it because you're not borrowing anything. When you're buying it, you're buying from the market real product. What you do with it after, whether you give it back to somebody or put it into a locker, they don't care.
One more question.
Sure.
They take the money out of your account when you sell it short.
They take the value of the short against your transaction power.
You need to have that much money in your account to rebuy it, to get it back? Or will
No.
they take the money they've already taken?
No, they just reduce your transaction by the risk. Okay? So obviously, well, there is a point, isn't there? I
Say
mean,
you have $20,000 and it costs you $19,000 to sell it short out of your account.
right.
Will they use that $19,000 to help buy it back?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So you don't need $40,000 to do
But
it.
if you had 20,000 in your account and you sold 20,000 short, okay, and you had no buying power,
Right.
and the thing went up to $100,
Oh, you got a problem.
then you're going to have to go out and borrow some money to buy it back.
Right.
Okay?
But as long as it went down,
Mhm.
they'll use that money to help buy it back.
Sure. But see, when you sell something short, what do you actually get? You actually get cash. Your account actually increases by the value you sold it for. They just put the money aside as coverage of the loan. So if you sell short $20,000, you effectively have what? $40,000. You had the 20 you started with plus the 20 you sold it for.
But you really don't.
But you really do, okay? But they pull it a 20-year, they pull it aside. You can't use it until, what are you going to use it for? To buy it back. Okay? Alrighty. A downtick, as I said, is created when the inside bid changes to a lower price by 1 penny. It was 10, it's now $9.99. We're on a downtick. Okay, it doesn't matter who does it, whether it's an ECN or a market maker. If the price changes, it's down. An uptick is therefore created when the inside bid is established at a higher price by at least 1 full penny. So if this now goes back up to 10, we now have an uptick, right? And now we can sell short to the bid. All ready? So here's a picture of it, okay? The inside bid increase, the uptick. The price was $30.93. Island jumped into a new inside bid for $30.94. Therefore, the arrow turns green and up, and we have an uptick. At this point, I am allowed to sell to Island or to Schwab. Now, I don't want to sell too far down the list, do I? Because I want to sell high. But I could sell to even Merrill Lynch. Maybe Merrill Lynch is showing 1,000 shares, and I want to sell more than 100. So I might just go to Merrill Lynch and sell it all at once, huh?
DART will route it accordingly.
DART will route it accordingly, okay? And DART will not let you short on a down tick. I'll show you that to you. It's kind of cool.
It's smart like that, huh?
Yeah, very smart. Okay, the inside bid decreases. We get a down tick. You just saw it. The price was $30.94. Well, the buyers, which were Island, were either filled or they canceled their orders. So the price went from $30.94 back to $30.93, and therefore we get a red down tick arrow. At this point, I am not allowed to sell to Schwab or Merrill Lynch. Okay? I cannot actively sell to the 93s or the 90s. Everybody with me?
Yeah.
Why
This
the
is
90?
huge, this is huge, because there you can see, gosh, look at that, and I just missed that uptick, even though I know the whole trend is going down.
Right. Once everybody knows it's going down, it's too late.
It's too late. So you
The
got one
inside
little
bid's
green.
93, why not sell at 90?
I can't. I'm not allowed to because it's on a down tick.
So then what price can you sell at?
I can't sell it.
Change direction, that's
Uh,
the whole point.
I can't sell it, Jim. Okay? I can offer it for sale, but I cannot sell it. I cannot sell it to the 93s or the 92s or the 91s or the 90s. I cannot sell it to the bid. That's what the rule states. If you're on a down tick, a trader may not sell to the bid, the inside bid or below on a down tick. That's the rule. Why? Well, in 1934, when they put this stupid rule in, they were thinking back to 1929, okay, and they wanted to protect the market. But on a 1 penny, what difference does it make if it goes up or down a penny? That doesn't save a market, so they're trying to get rid of this rule. And it's not a very good rule, people. We have better controls on our market now. Okay, do you understand? Good. Now, it gets a little bit more complex. Again, the rule is a trader cannot sell short a stock at or below the bid if the stock is on a down tick. That's the rule. New York, though, defines the down tick as differently. New York Stock Exchange says a down tick is when the last trade is lower than the previous trade as seen on the prints. Okay? So it is either a red bar or a down arrow. The trader cannot sell short the stock at or below the inside bid. Okay, let's look at it. So here we see we have an uptick on IBM. It's a 3-letter stock, so we know it's New York, okay? And it's on an uptick. Why? Well, because the last print was 53, and the second to last print was 53, and the next print is 55. It's an uptick. Okay, this price is higher at 55 than this one at 53. Everybody with me? So we could, if we started anywhere, let's say this was a down tick at 50. 54 is higher, uptick. 55 is higher, uptick. 55 is high, is same, uptick, uptick, down tick, uptick, down tick, uptick, down tick, uptick. Okay?
Can you place like a limit order in there? Can you put a price in on a sell short so that if it ticks,
Sure.
the computer will hit it for you automatically?
Sure, if it's on an uptick. Okay? If I put a limit order 85.50 right now, the computer would let me attempt to sell it to the 85.50s. Why? Because we're on an uptick. But if I put a limit order 85.50 and it was on a downtick, the computer say you can't do that. You got to wait for an uptick.
Yeah. Which I'm thinking, what you were thinking is say, I want to sell it short, it's on downticks, it's going down, but I want the next opportunity goes up.
Right.
Can I place an order? No. The computer won't let you place that order until it's in that uptick mode, right?
Well, he said limit order. We have ways to do exactly what you say.
Well, that was my question.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's exactly.
Oh, okay. Well, let's get there, guys. You don't, I'm going to tell you everything. Don't worry, the great Karnak will reveal all. You just,
Come on.
yeah, I know. I just got to make sure you understand the cooking I've served up so far. Okay. So here we are again in New York on IBM. We have a downtick. Why? Well, because the last print was 50, and then the very newest print is 46. That's lower. So on NASDAQ, if the bid continuously drops, the thing just stays down. Okay? But on New York, it's going to do this. Because the bid may not go up, but they may buy from the ask price occasionally, and that's going to print at a higher price than the last bid price. So in New York, that arrow is doing this, and on NASDAQ, it tends to, do that. It's much slower. Okay, let me see what the next slide is, and I'll take you out to the platform, and we'll look at it. Okay, so let's get this part into our heads here. We may not send in our order to open a short on a downtick, okay? Cannot short on a downtick. However, we can attempt to get short by offering on the ask 1 full penny above the inside bid reference point. So if we look up here and I'm on a downtick, I'm not allowed to sell to the 10s. But can I come over here and post an order to sell at 10:01? Yes. Now, I may not get filled. Remember, you're a passive trader. But if I really want to get short, this is my next best bet. That make sense?
What are you calling that when you push your button?
Sell short 10:01.
So you're putting in a price.
Yeah, you have to, and it's got to be 1 full penny, at least 1 full penny above the inside bid. So if it's 10, I have to go 10:01. Can I go 10:05? Sure. What are my chances of getting filled? Less. Okay, if the price is going down, why would they want to buy 01s? They certainly wouldn't want to buy 05s, would they? So we want to get as close to it as we possibly can. Now, if I place a limit order 10:01 and the thing goes down to $9.99 or $9.90, I'm still at 10:01. So I have to cancel my order and change it to $9.91, 1 penny above the inside bid. So the problem with this is what? You start to chase it. And as Lee Trevino said, there's 2 things that don't last in the world, and that's dogs that chase cars, okay, and pros that putt for pars. We could add to that traders who chase stocks. They don't live too long, okay? We don't want to chase them. Follow the plan, set it up. Okay, so let's talk about some scenarios here. We look up here and we see that the arrow is pointed down. The arrow is red. We're not allowed to sell to the 995s. Okay, we can't touch the bid. So therefore, we're going to use an ECN to short with. Why? Because with ECNs, we can post an offer to sell. You ready? So perhaps we choose Island. We know we have to be at least 1 full penny above. So if the inside reference is 95, I must be at 96. And you see me there. There I am selling 100 shares at 96, or offering to sell 100 shares. What's the problem?
Got a lot of people ahead of you to sell.
Yeah, I'm in with an awful lot of competition, okay? And why should they buy from me? And even if they do buy from me, my chances are what? 1 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1 in 11 chances that somebody would come to me. You ready? And if they want to buy 200 shares, they wouldn't even look at me because I'm only offering 100. So that makes my odds go up higher. Additionally, if we look over here, we can see that at least there are a number of green prints at 96. So people are buying 96s, so that's at least some good news. Okay? Of course, are we smart? Are we very smart right now? We're going to short a stock that's up 2.58% for the day? Probably not a good short. Okay? Okay, now, here we have the opposite situation. Now the arrow is up. People, we can do anything we want. I can sell to the 54s, I can sell to the 53s, I can offer at 55, okay? I can do anything I want because I have a green up arrow. The uptick arrow says go. You ready? Now, again, we want to make sure that could we go out here and offer to sell this thing at 55 and get filled? Sure, it's going 54, 55. It looks like the 55s are just starting to print. Here's a trick, something to keep in the back of your mind. People, if you sell short and you're instantly filled, you're probably wrong. Okay? They were just waiting for you. Shorts are hard to open. Okay? Let's deal with that for a moment. Guys, we have buying and we have selling. We have greed and we have fear. Of the two, which is the stronger emotion? Fear. So it's always easy to buy. There's always more people who are trying to sell. Okay? Fear is always causing people to get out of long positions. So therefore, selling is harder. Okay? When you want to sell short, it's harder than buying. Even in a really dropping market, there's always somebody who thinks they found the bottom, will step in and buy, you know, from you. But it's hard to open a short, and if they what? I just lost my train of thought. If you're trying to sell short and they hit you immediately, okay, you're probably wrong.
So that means you better cancel or get our sell.
Start looking to get out. Yeah. If you hit the sell button and you get filled, okay, start looking to buy cover immediately. Look around and go, this isn't going well.
Yeah, what did I miss?
Yeah, well, I missed something. Okay, and
If you're using your support and resistance lines like we did this morning, you're not gonna panic like that, right?
well, no, you have a plan that you're going to follow, but it sure should bring you up on the balls of your feet. You know, usually a short, it will take, you know, several seconds to get filled if you're offering it out. Okay, because if it's going down, why would they want to buy it from you at the retail? But if it's going sternly up, they're going to snatch retail. And if you're offering, they're going to buy you. Okay? Alrighty. So what is the bottom line on this one here? It says, is this a safe stock to short right now? Well, guys, it's up, you know, 5% for the day. You know, maybe it's going to correct a little bit, but that's certainly not what the overall trend is it?